All right, how are we doing, FloorCon? Who's ready for tonight's party? All right, so first off, we've had an incredible day of content so far. I hope everyone's been learning a ton, but I'm so excited to speak with this crew here. This is the most influential and impactful marketing and advertising crew that we could think of when we wanted to figure out what is the way that we could find influencers and people that really understand digital to help you grow your businesses and people that have done it themselves. So, while I know that you guys are massive, massive hits, especially on the consumer side, tons of eyeballs across all social platforms, I want to quickly just go down the row, tell a little bit about your business, yourself, and what you want to tell the FloorCon community. Brek, we'll start with you.
Hello, everybody. My name is Brek Goin. I'm the founder and CEO of Hammr. Happen to do builders events and stuff on the side. Grew up in a construction family. I started on social media out of necessity. I started my first company. Famous, around the Mike Tyson quote, everybody has a plan until they get punched in the face. So I turned to social media to start growing my following there, and has opened so many doors that I would have never imagined that were possible. So today I hope to share with you guys just on maybe some strategies and tactics that you guys can apply today and tomorrow to your business to set the foundation and build a moat for your company.
Awesome. Shannon?
Hello, I'm Shannon Schannon Violet, AKA that tile chick. I am also the co-owner of Atlantis Construction, which is my husband and I's general contracting business. I started that tile chick back almost 3 years ago now when I decided to leave my full-time job as an accountant and set tile with my husband full-time. Since then, it's been a wild journey. We've learned a lot about social media, and we've used it so much to help our business and help us succeed. So I am here to share that with you all and help you.
All right, going from Shannon to Shannon. This is going to be a fun one.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Shannon Vogel, and I've been in the flooring industry for 25 years. And along the way, I discovered that I could help more people on social media. So I started that about 15 years ago with the first blog in the flooring industry I got to start with the WFCA, and that was a cool thing, and I got pretty good at it. And then somebody said to me, "Hey, do you get that Facebook shit?" And I said, "I do." And they said, "Do you get the Pinterest thing too?" And I said, "I do." And then they said, "Can you help dealers?" And I said, "I would love to." So my whole job, my whole career, my whole company is to help all of you not be scared of social media, either learn how to get on it by yourself or manage it for you. But today I want to make sure that we debunk any social media myths, get any fear out of the way, any objections that you have. I want you to walk out of here confident and excited about social media.
You guys know him from Flooring Dealers and More. Jerry.
Yes, I'm Jason Goldberg, and I'm here to tell you guys why you all suck at social media and why I'm going to dominate and destroy and kick your ass on Facebook. So, Jerry Levinson, Flooring Dealers and More, and also have Profit Now for Flooring Dealers. And just sharing you tips and things I've learned with all platforms, Facebook, YouTube, and really kind of discovering what works and just trying everything. And that's what we do. We try everything, and teach a lot of times just like shoot the damn video. Don't worry about getting it perfect. Don't worry about getting it right. Bad content outperforms no content. So, just keep at it, keep going. Everything builds over time. And then I'd like to introduce Sam Kaufman. No, go ahead.
Jerry's taking over. All right, going down to Sam.
Yeah, I'm Sam Kaufman, CEO of On the Level Construction, kitchen and bath remodel, and a flooring store. My goal is that when we're done, all of you will post on your platform of choice. That is my intention for us on this panel. So I would like to bring you value as to why I take personal branding just as, if not more serious than branding my business.
Awesome. And I think something that makes this panel really unique, because you guys are across multiple channels just individually, but when you look at having one specialty and understanding how to leverage these channels, everyone here represents at least one dominance in one channel specifically. So just going down, Brek, you guys have built an incredible Instagram following. Shannon, crushing TikTok. Other Shannon, this is going to be fun. In terms of Facebook for flooring retailers, Jerry, slight pivot here, but this is super important, and you're seeing it more and more across all different social media platforms. Facebook groups, forums, those group communities, and Brek, I think you can talk a little bit about your app as well and the community you're building there. But Jerry, how you've been leveraging forums within themselves. And then Sam, just going right in on the podcasting. So when these individuals speak, they know all these different areas, but they really have some specialization that will help you guys stand out and figure out what channel works best for you. So starting down that road, we're going to start off with that tile chick, and we'll jump around names a few times. But in terms of how you plan content, because I know when I first reached out and we were trying to figure out when to announce, you were going to come speak at FloorCon, it jumped out right away. She said, it's Sunday, we're starting to plan our content, and I don't think enough people think about that approach. So when you're planning content, what is your strategy? What are the tactics that you think of? What are the themes that you lean into?
So planning your content is extremely important because it removes the burden of it being on your mind, of it's just one other thing you need to do. So if it's planned already in advance, it's kind of just on your task list. Like, you know what you're going to do. You've already done like the creative meeting. Like, I know this is what's going to be happening this week. We can get a cool clip of this or a cool clip of that. Like, if you're scrolling social and you see like a cool trending sound and you're like, oh, I want to do that. So you plan to do that instead of just like hoping the day allows you to do that, because the day will never just allow you to make the content. You have to kind of schedule it in. But so we do a meeting every single Sunday of what content is going to come through the pipeline, because we schedule content on Instagram, TikTok. We're big doing YouTube Shorts now, and on Facebook as well. So like, in order to run all those platforms, you have to have some sort of strategy. And our goal right now is to post at least 3 times a week on all of those platforms. And most of it is short form video. And then we also do long format content as well for YouTube. So it requires you to have a schedule and make notes and have that creative planning up front. Otherwise, you're just planning to fail at that point.
And in terms of, I think when a lot of people think about posting, they think that everything's happening in that moment, right? That you were just like, this is a good time for me to shoot and post. How would you respond to that? When are you posting content? How old is some of the content that you're posting? Just to sort of help dealers understand, when do things have to be shot and then actually posted and planned? So
a great thing to do is to batch content. Like, it's fantastic to do that. So if you have a cool project that's happening, you want to get as much content from that project as possible, but always remembering to keep it simple. Not everything has to be a production show where it's like the person's going to know everything from start to finish from that like 30-second clip. It's impossible. So just always remembering that your audience doesn't know as much as you, so that you can really break down the pieces of content to small, digestible things that will actually amount to lots of pieces of content. And then you can use that and schedule it out for like weeks in advance. Some of my content is like months old because I got it months ago, and I was just able to chop it down and add some value or educate somebody just on like a 10-second clip of a video that was really 3 minutes long.
Yeah, I think that's great advice. And then Shannon, other Shannon, how do you have the same approach for retailers? So in terms of that tile chick doing it for herself and her brand, how can retailers here take that and apply it to their business?
So I would tell you to figure out your 6-pack. Figure out 6 different things that you want to talk about and make a list of those things. And then either when you get super fired up about something, start working on it, or plan a time that you are going to sit down and work on your content, and then take that 6-pack and make sure that you're rotating different types of messages. So if you're doing a project, like Shannon said, take all of the pictures and video. Nobody cares when you did the project. If you're going to help a customer, it doesn't matter when you did it, so you can show it any time. But mix that up with reviews, and then something about what's going on inside your company with culture. But find out the 6 things that is a story that you can tell and you can continue to tell, and it will remove the thing that, if I could see all your faces, raise your hand if this has happened to you. If you do your own social media, you sit down at your desk on Monday morning and you're like, I'm doing this content thing, I'm ready. And then you go, holy cow, oh my God. And then the installer's telling you that they're out of Ardex. And then somebody's pulling on you from the filing cabinet. It's the worst thing in the world when you sit down at your computer and you have no idea what to say and no idea what to do. So you'll pre-plan and just think about the 6 different things that you want to talk about. It won't be as hard, and then you'll get in a groove and get in a rhythm. But at the end of the day, just tell your story. Just show up, be authentic, tell the truth, and tell your story, and it'll be a lot easier to pre-plan your content. But it's one of the most important things about social media, because you're going to hate it otherwise, and people are going to feel that when all of your energy's not in it. So it's really, really important. I'm glad you started with that.
Brek, you guys do a lot of content curation, right? What's the process in terms of you looking at that content, curating it, and then planning when to post it?
It's been 3 phases so far. Initially, when I started, it was Builders of Insta when I first started. So I got super obsessed with, I come from a home building family, and I got super obsessed with sourcing the best builders. Back in 2016, when I started on social media, there were not as many builders like there are on social media today in 22, going into 23. And so I had an idea of, I want to stop asking my dad for connections to get in front of these people, and I'm going to go like make a market. I had no idea what that was going to be. And so what I would do is I would aggregate content from these websites that they would never update. They had amazing photos, but I would aggregate those. And I knew if I could credit them and curate them, and I did a lot of editing to their photos as well, because they didn't have the best photographers taking it. And I would post those on Builders of Insta. And so I would source the content, credit them. That turned into a snowball effect of people were reaching out, they wanted to get featured. And I did this all for free for builders. I never made any builder pay to get published on our channel, because I knew the feel and the asset was, if I wanted to build a brand, I would have to design it as a media company. And just as much as we relied on builders to distribute and build the audience, they were relying on us to get exposure. So first started was curating the content. Second was, and I didn't realize the impact of this, I started telling everybody to use hashtag #BuildersOfIG, because people were emailing their content and messaging it in, and I was like, I can't keep up with this. And so they started using the hashtag. I didn't realize that hashtags were going to end up being followed in the future. And so we had built up a massive asset. And then the third phase was people are continuing to send in our content. We curate it, we edit it. We do all sorts of captions because we know what hooks people. And so if we can produce more exposure for the people that are sending it in, then we can create that moat and then drive more exposure for them. How we plan content is first we accumulate it, next curate it, and then like what Shannon said, we use tools to schedule content out. I don't post anything the day of. I have content scheduled out up to 4 weeks in advance. And every Friday, we operate a little bit different than a creator. Like a creator, like Shannon and some of these other folks, they are doing the work. For us, we're distributing it to our network. And so how we operate is more like kind of a media company. And so for us is making sure that we can drive exposure and also building out our content calendar for the long term.
Well, speaking of creators, Sam, when do you pick up the mic? Because that has to be a little bit different. Do you shoot, multiple episodes? Is it anytime you have a thought? Like, what is your process in terms of podcasting?
Sure. So for podcasting is like this personal outlet of mine. So the reason I got into podcasting to begin with is because I love to talk. And so like what we're all talking about today, everybody has touched on it, is bringing value to the customer without them having to pay you. That's what all this content is about. Like everybody's talking about the same thing. And so,
Let's not get carried away here.
well, hold on, I know you like money. Yeah. The goal is obviously to get paid eventually, but I wanted to bring value in the way that was best suited for my personality. To get started there was podcasting. So I wasn't planning it because I'm very emotional. I like it from the heart. I like talking honestly and realistically. Now, all my other content scheduled out 4 weeks in advance. All the video content, all the reels, all the YouTube shorts, all that stuff is content scheduled, but I still keep the podcast near and dear to my heart. Now, my videographer is pushing me to record 4, post them on YouTube, and do this a little bit better, but I feel like I bring the most value by being the most Sam that I can possibly be, and that's my outlet to do that.
Very cool. So one of you, actually, it's coming up a few times. I think this is really helpful for this room. We talked about tools, what platforms do you use to sort of help you either plan the content, create some of the content, these could be really good take-homes for retailers. Just going down the line, if you had to pick, one platform like a Canva or something along those lines that you could recommend for people that are looking for new ways to plan content or make their content better or edit their content or work with a contractor to help clean up something, what would that be? So we'll just go down the line here.
I would say one, later, like Shannon over here was talking about. If you're going to sit down that day and think of your content strategy, it's likely not going to happen. So later helps you, it alleviates a lot of the stress, and you can just think freely about content because you need the creativity. And then the second is we've started podcasting, and that, like, humans to do other editing. Like, we try to do all the, we tried to do all the editing up front, and it took us so much time, and we actually never produced the micro clips. And so we hired people. So if you're struggling with social media or content, hire people that are going to be way better than you.
And do you look at Upwork? Do you look at Fiverr? Any platforms to recommend?
Yes, but you need to thoroughly vet. We had the luxury that this company specialized in micro clips specifically for our podcast. They reached out and said, hey, you're not doing micro clips, you probably want to. And I looked at their work, and they had done stuff for Ed Milet and Andy Frisell and some of these other big name influencers. And so that gave us enough confidence that we could have very premium quality micro clips.
All right, I'm just going to go Violet.
Yeah. So I would suggest anything to schedule your content. I schedule all of my content in Google Calendar. During my meeting, I'll just write it down, and then I add it into my calendar so I get a notification, but that's because that's what I use. So whatever scheduler you are using, put it in there, and then make yourself notes of what the creative is so that you know what post is going live and when, and being able to record your content in advance allows you to record content that is like the holiday season type content. Anything that is like seasonal and will be very popular during certain times of the year is really good. You can plan that ahead of time so that it's going live during the most important times. And then another thing you already mentioned, which is Canva. I use Canva every single day. I have the app, I use it on my computer. I use it for everything from like YouTube covers to IG reel covers, because make sure you're adding a cover to your reels. That's just a little nugget of information. It will help the reel perform better, but more importantly, it gives it a more professional look on your page. And you can just like add a little title, you put a nice photo there, and I do all of that on Canva.
So my two are Canva and Loomly, Loomly. Canva, same. I have it on my phone, my iPad, everywhere. Every day I'm on Canva, and all the way down to like my holiday card. But everything goes through Canva. So I think they go hand in hand because you want to design the graphic in Canva, and then with Loomly, it does a couple cool things. So you can look at your editorial calendar, which you're going to create with that 6-pack, and you can plug and chug a different idea on a calendar and then look at the calendar holistically to make sure you're covering all the topics and you're telling a good story. So then you get to go in and say, I want to, post on this date, and I want to pick all of these platforms. Then you add your image, and then you add your content, and then you get to go through each platform, shorten it for Twitter, make it more business-oriented for LinkedIn, but you don't have to jump, because I'm a shiny squirrel, I got to stay focused. You don't have to jump between each platform and cut and paste and risk making mistakes. Everything is all in one place. And then you keep going through the steps that they guide you, and what's really cool is they tell you how your post is doing. So they'll tell you, that's a great day of the week to post. They'll tell you that the copy is great, that the image looks great, so you get all these green check marks, which makes our brain feel good, but also it tells you that it's worth your time and you're doing a good job. Then you go to the next step, and you can actually boost a post or do advertising from there, so you're all still in one platform, and you can also collaborate with people. So you can collaborate, like I will collaborate with a client if they want to approve it through the software before it goes out, and all of our conversations stay within Loomly, and we're not clogging up our email. So you can do that in-house. If you have multiple locations, you can have each store manager be a collaborator for that system, and everything runs through there. And it's a step-by-step, easy process, and it's one of the least expensive, actually, because I've used everything. I've used Hootsuite, Sprout Social, I've used them all, and it's the one that I think is the easiest and the cleanest to use.
So record the video and post the video would be the first thing that I would suggest. I personally love an app called Captions. If you're on Instagram ever and you see all those fun highlight captions that are on every video, on every reel, That's the app that does it. It's called Captions. It's super easy to use. I will say though, like full transparency, I have a team of VAs that handles all of my editing and my whole content calendar because I'm not good at it. And so like as a business owner, I don't really need to spend 6 months trying to get mediocre at something that I'm not good at. I'm a huge fan of delegating stuff. So we have like a content department that handles both brands. I spend about 4 hours a month actually filming, and then I spend about 4 hours a month approving a month's worth of content for 2 companies. My time is best suited leading my people and creating value. And I am so bad at all of this, like so bad at all the editing and I get so frustrated trying to do like video editing that I wouldn't post if I had to get caught up in the weeds of actually editing and posting content.
If you don't love it, don't do it.
I love the value,
Yes.
and that's why I delegate everything else. I make sure my time is focused specifically on the value to my community.
And I think that's key, because if anyone was to look at any of y'all's content, it looks professional, it looks like you guys do it with ease, but these tools really can help simplify and get you to market faster. I mean, if you guys don't use Canva, it is a cheat code. Like for anyone making content, even just for my wedding, I used it for a couple of the different photo booths. You can use it for anything in your life. Canva will make your lives much, much easier. But Sam, you're a little unique in the fact that you not only do your own content, but you also do a little bit of the podcast, guest appearances as well. How do you source those? How do people reach out to you? How are you building your brand through podcasts?
Yeah, so content kind of creates an ecosystem for you and your company at the same time. And once you start posting, there's probably a lot of people in this room who should be on this stage. There's probably a lot of dealers out there doing a lot more business, a lot more successfully than the guy or girl sitting next to you even knows of, because you're not out there. You're not talking about it. You're not making people aware regularly and consistently that you exist and that you know things that could help people be successful. So like the guest ecosystem kind of was created out of starting to post content and getting myself out there and making people aware that I know something about something that people care about. And then people start to kind of be attracted to that. And I'm not afraid to ask. Like everyone on this panel is gonna get a, hey, will you be a guest on my podcast after this panel is done? And I'm gonna set up that appointment before I leave the room. Because action over admin. So like I could say, hey, I'll have somebody reach out to you and schedule it, or I could just schedule it with you before you have time to leave and not wanna do it anymore.
Absolutely. It goes back to what Brian and I said yesterday. Ask for the sale. If you want to be on a podcast, reach out to that host. You never know if they're going to want to have you on. It's always worth that attempt. Is that sort of the same experience for all of you guys? Brek, I know you've been doing podcasting as well.
Yeah, I mean, podcasting, for me specifically, I would never start a podcast if I didn't have another channel built out. So I like stacking channels. I'll get super obsessed with one, build it to a certain place. It'll have enough momentum where I can start migrating an audience. So that's what we did. But for a podcast, it can be difficult to source ideas. And so what I try to do is, we're very active in our community. So I'll take 15-minute phone calls of people that inspire me or I think have an interesting story. I'll get on a quick phone call with them, vet them, see if they can hold a conversation for a potential podcast, but also I want to learn more about their story. And then I'm always looking for that one nugget that they tell me in that 15 to 20 minutes. And this is kind of an underrated tool, but has anyone, by show of hands, who has gone out of their way to write an entire blog post? Some, but writing an entire blog post is relatively difficult. It's writer's block. You start with that first sentence, and if you're writing long-form content, it's very difficult to do. So what I found works for me is I'll take the 10-minute vetting call, if you will, find the nugget, and like planning a blog, it's hard to do it from scratch. So I'll use a tool called Jasper AI, JASPER.ai. This is an AI tool where it's fucking phenomenal. Sorry if I...
No, you can curse. FloorCon, you can curse. It's fucking phenomenal.
This is your AI, virtual assistant where you drop in an idea or a nugget, it scrapes the internet, sources a bunch of stuff, and then gives you some ideas of what kind of matches up with that. That will be some sort of my framework where I can go into a podcast and build on some of those topics. I'm not going to read a script, but it's going to at least get my idea muscle going, and then I can go into that episode, and me and my co-host can ask really great questions. And we've just started using it, but the amount of, I'm a pretty creative person, but it's hard to beat AI when it's kind of scouring the internet for what people are asking about.
So I've never thought about using it for brainstorming, just
Yeah,
producing.
we would never, there's some people, I think sometimes they make claims that it can write an entire blog post, but I'm like, let me see about this. And I was like, human didn't write that, so let me just stick to the ideation.
Yeah.
And not as
Interesting.
boring.
Yeah, and not as boring, exactly.
Interesting.
And then Shannon, have you ever thought about getting into podcasting?
Yes, I have. I'm just not ready to add that into the mix yet. I have definitely, and it's something that's might be in the future, but it's still in a thought process phase where there's a couple things that I want to do, but I just don't know which one to reach up and grab and bring down yet. So.
Brek, do you want to talk a little bit about Hammr and what you've been doing there?
Yeah, I mean, our vision there was, I mean, people started reaching out to us, especially on the builder side. They were asking for, like trades would reach out to us. Who are the best builders to work for? Builders, the labor shortage and the supply constraint, they were always asking, hey, can you post our jobs on Builders Events? And so what I started doing was I started putting everybody in Excel spreadsheets, and I'm like, I'm going to become like a matchmaker for these guys. And so I started just doing the introductions. Obviously, they had to vet everybody, but it was a very manual process. I was like a free broker, and I should have probably been paid for it, but I wasn't. And then that's where the idea sparked of, okay, there's no real like true LinkedIn for the trades, everybody like superintendents and field folks. I've sent them a connection to about 800. I've gotten 8 that have accepted or responded, so these people are not active on here. And so that was the inspiration behind it. But a lot of everything that I've done in my journey, there's a lot of things that I've failed at. Like I was talking about the podcast, it wasn't just because I wanted to start a podcast, it was because I was interviewing people, writing these massive articles. I had 5 questions, post them on social media. Based on the comments, I had a pretty good understanding that people were not reading them. And so I was like, okay, if people aren't reading these and they're not reading blogs, I know these guys like to listen to stuff in the truck, 40 minutes driving to work. Let's try to shoot out a podcast and see what happens. Hey, love the podcast. I was like, oh my God, we should have done this like way sooner. So everything that I've done is always like a process of testing things, and then there's a trial period. And it's all, what we're trying to do is we just try to match what the market is telling us. So if there's demand there, we'll test, we'll see how many other people have that, and then we'll continue investing more if the demand is coming in.
So I want to make sure that we have enough time for Q&A, but quickly, if you guys were to recommend one person that you follow on social, that would be good inspiration for the audience, who would that be? So we'll give you a second. Sam, we'll start with you and come down the line.
I don't get a second? Oh, okay.
All right, Jerry. We'll throw Jerry to the wolves, and then we'll
Oh,
go
no,
to Sam.
you gotta start here. I don't know what I want to
Mine's
order
easy, I'll
for dinner.
start.
Okay, go ahead.
And this is not a suck up, this one right here.
Thank you.
Inspirational, motivational, quality, professionalism, like full package.
Thank you. You're so sweet. Love you.
And you can't say Shannon.
Pass me right now. I have to think.
All right, Sam?
Yeah, well, specifically pertaining to social media and branding, I would say follow Gary Vaynerchuk.
Yes.
Incredible influencer as far as branding, both for your business, personal, makes it very, very simple. And if you can't find him, your phone is not on. So.
And not only that, with Gary Vee, he gives out a ton of free templates, content, strategies, so I think that's a great one. What about you, Jerry?
I got into this world following a guy named Dan Kennedy, and I always said Dan Kennedy is to marketing what Tony Robbins is to self-improvement. Unless you're in that world, you probably never heard of him, but very good content. And at the end of the day, I always say we're in the marketing business. We're in the business of attracting customers. Without a customer, you don't have a sale, you don't have an installation. So how are you going to attract customers? Learn, study, and be interested in how marketing works and how people respond to it. It's a very fascinating topic. It's a fun topic, and there's a gentleman named Joe Polish. He has a podcast, I Love Marketing. That's pretty good, but there's a lot of marketing gurus out there that are interesting to follow. You'll get a lot of great tips.
Okay, I'm good now. I couldn't remember her IG handle. So Her IG handle is Pink Sparrow Socials, and she's great because she does a lot of educational videos on how to create short-form content, and she does step-by-step tutorials. So all of her reels are tutorials on how to make reels. So I know that because short-form content is like the bee's knees nowadays, and everybody is terrified to get in front of the camera, she posts so much great information, not only the visual, but she writes really great captions with step-by-step things of what to do, what setting you need to put your camera on, and it's all using, you know, your iPhone or, you know, whatever phone you have with the app. Pink Sparrow Socials.
Pink Sparrow Socials?
Yes. I'm not sure if it's with an S, but let me just double check on my phone.
Okay, perfect. Brek?
I think my co-host would be very mad if I didn't mention him, but Matt Bangs Wood.
Yeah.
He's been incredible over on YouTube. I think that's where where he got his start. It's the hardest place to create content. He's a guy out in the field that's actually swinging the hammer, making these tips, doing a podcast, and doing a lot of other stuff on TikTok, and he's just become kind of a powerhouse, and he's just developing a media brand around him, and so I would highly recommend him. And then someone else that, you know, Gary Vaynerchuk is great because he's the person that does try things before anybody else does. But one person that I really enjoy following is Ryan Serhant. Why I like following him is because he started as a real estate agent, so it was all about personal branding. Now he wants to create Serhant, which is going to become a massive brand. And I think I've always truly believed, even when I first started my journey, that the biggest and most powerful brands tomorrow are going to be started by creators. And I'm starting to see people like Mr. Beast create food chains that are going to disrupt McDonald's. When you can get hundreds or like thousands of people to show up to a mall for a burger launch, the power is in the creators' hands. And so now brands have to realize that they need to work with creators because they're going to be the ones establishing the biggest brands of tomorrow.
I got one thing to add. I would recommend that you follow your competitors, see what they're doing, and do better.
That's great advice.
Just to interject, it was Pink Sparrow Social, not with an S at the end.
Got it, buddy? All right. Okay, so we're going to take 10 minutes for Q&A. You have some of the best and brightest minds in advertising and marketing here. So, we already got a question. And please make sure to direct it at one of the speakers or if it's for the general panel.
I mean, this could be like general, but also like I really like what Sam said. Like, so how much do you think it costed you to pay someone to do all your, like, you know, your editing content for you? Because like that's my biggest thing. Like, I really want to start a podcast, but when you get to like all that like editing and stuff like that, I'm like, oh no, I can't do this. I'm like, I want to make a video, like like put it out there, and then I do all that part, and I'm like, no, I'll just put it on the back burners because I'm just too busy to deal with all that stuff.
No, it's on the back burner because you're afraid, not because you're too busy. And if all you want to do is start a podcast, use GarageBand, pay someone on Fiverr to make you a little 30-second intro, upload your Zoom recording to GarageBand, export it as an MP3, and then upload it to Buzzsprout. You now have a podcast. You don't need a VA team like I have to just have a podcast.
As the oldest member of this panel, I use GarageBand too, and for the podcast. And I even have one that it's got the what's that ticking thing that they have? The metronome. I didn't turn that off, and the guy's like, "I listened to all your podcasts, even that one with the ticking. I didn't know it was still like that." It's like I listened all the way through. It was so annoying, but it was really good.
I think my biggest piece of advice is I was in your shoes. I was even more terrified because I was like, I have an audience that's going to listen to me, and it's probably going to be awful. I had so many fears of the anticipation. And so Matt and I, we spent about a month going back to back on, hey, let's get all of our podcast guests, let's get all of our topics mapped out. Let's do like an SMS campaign so we can keep our community like up to date, and none of that mattered. And so because we were so fearful of it, we made a date and said, if we don't record with one person, we're not going to do a podcast. So we recorded the podcast, we published it out. The fear was already pretty much gone. Now I just had to press publish. Once it was published, now I started getting the feedback from people, and they're like, hey, your podcast was so great. All I needed was that little dopamine hit of like 2 people saying it was good enough, and then that was full commitment. And so like, don't worry about the editing, none of that. Just find your one guest, record. You don't even have to commit to publishing it, but you'll find is once you record, you really want to get it out now.
Now, to answer your question though, because you did ask how much does it cost? So I put out about 250 posts a month between the brands, all edited, scheduled, and posted for me. Cost, with my videographer, it cost me about $3,000 a month.
That's what I see too.
Yep.
All right, 3,000's number. Buddy?
So I finally got a definition of what I changed into about 6 months ago by Todd, I think it was, or somebody said. I went from a peacetime to a wartime CEO. When he said that, it kind of struck with me because I thought, wow, you know, you can't do things the way you've been doing them. You got to change. I hate social media. I hate the thought of getting out there and putting my face in front of people because I'm pretty sure I don't do very good on video. So I guess this is probably more for Shannon because I pay her to. Shannon knows, Shannon. Vogel.
That's cool.
Reach.
Which Shannon?
Oh, I
do you
didn't. I
pay?
missed that part.
Reach Social.
Okay.
I pay her to do a lot of my social stuff, but Andrew Yang this morning said you got to make it more personal. If your stuff looks too fake, immediately people know it's fake. What would be the way to get less professionalism but great content?
For you and for everybody else, video. And if you're not comfortable being on camera, which that's going to translate, that's okay. Let's use your salespeople. Let's get, a new product comes in and a salesperson that's comfortable on camera opens it up and says, oh my gosh, I love this tile. I could really see using this in a custom shower. Do a showroom tour and show all of your FSU products because that's exclusive to you. Anything with video that you can do, it doesn't have to be you. I would love it if it was you, and maybe we could, if we had a picture that you liked of you, maybe there was a voiceover to get you comfortable that was telling your story because people really like to know what the owner has to say.
So I should pay for a hair transplant.
No, you should be exactly who you are, exactly the way you are.
So one of my best performing videos was I shot a video of, I didn't have any place to hide a bike that I bought for my daughter for her birthday. So I put it on top of our car and dean table. And I had basically a contest to see who would win this bike. Because she came into the showroom all the time. She was about 10 years old. And she's like, oh, I love that bike. I wish I could have that. And it's like, no, that was for a contest. So on the day of her birthday, we shot the video and had her pull a name out of the hat. And of course, all the names were her name. So she got it. It was a great story, and I posted it across Google business page, Facebook, Instagram, wherever we were on. And I got good response from that. Any of the newsletters my son's doing now, just had a baby born. You guys should have a kid. So just, So we got a couple kids, always charming stories, things that are personal and fun. And people buy from people. They don't buy from companies. Mm-hmm. So be that personality. I always wanted people to buy from us when it had nothing to do with price, product, or service. It was something else. We made a connection, vacation in a certain area, favorite football team, or there was some way that you connected that they like you and they want to do business with you. So post your vacation, post things that you were doing or something you did for an employee, a reward, or an employee going on vacation.
An installer breakfast, anything culture related. If your people show up with an ugly sweater contest during the holidays, like that's funny, people can connect with it. All human beings want is a human connection. That's all we're DNA wired for. So using social media to help facilitate that connection, that's your job. Your job is to tell your story. This is not a place to sell. Nobody gives a shit that you have hardwood for $2.99. Tell a story that is going to make someone connect with you to want to choose you and buy from you. Talk about what makes you different, why you're unique, and get your ego completely out of it. And if you with your social media, if it's not doing well and you want to improve it, I would suggest you go follow Brene Brown, learn everything you can about kindness, compassion, and empathy, and start putting that into your social media. Be human, be real, and just be who you are, but just tell the story.
They said at a Dan Kennedy conference, who gets paid more, an entertainer or an educator?
And everybody likes funny. If you can do funny, by all means do funny. And everybody loves a puppy. Everybody loves a puppy. And my favorite story to tell is when, oh, Karen's got lots of puppies. Remember the Stainmaster ad where the guy was laying on the carpet playing with the baby? Every woman in America saw that ad and thought, oh my God, if I buy Stainmaster carpet, my husband's not gonna go to the bar after work. He's gonna come home and lay on the floor and he's gonna play with the baby. Sold. Like paint a picture, paint a lifestyle picture, show the solution that you can provide to make his or her life easier. But you gotta get your ego out of it. And one thing that I think has been a common theme that everybody is saying is how important it is to listen. It's more about listening than it is talking. Listen to what your people want, what your customers want, and give them the information that they want based on listening.
You have to create content that is meant for the viewer, not what you think is good. So you have to understand that the viewer is completely unaware of a lot of things that you know, and you have to break it down to the most basic form. But to piggyback on, to answer your question, if you don't want to be in front of the camera, because I'm sure there's a lot of people in this room that are like, man, I really want to get on social, but I hate being in front of the camera, you have to hire a content creator to do your social media. That doesn't mean they need to post on their channels. They don't even need to be an influencer. They can just be somebody that understands social, that can understand and take your message. They know the trends. They're comfortable with being on camera. They can film what's going on in your showroom. They can, be that person. They're like the spokesperson. They're like the news anchor, and they're the one that can tell the story and they can get the message across. And they know how to use the platforms. That's their job. You don't necessarily need to hire an influencer or learn how to do social media all on your own. Like there's people out there who literally are just content creators, and that's their job for these companies. So
I think we have time for one more question.
Hi. So all of you guys, as you're talking about content, are mentioning videos, and you're all, sounds like, using different platforms. Some of you use multiple. For us in the flooring industry, what are the top 3 platforms you recommend for videos?
All of them.
yeah, you need to get your content on as many platforms as possible. So the best thing to do is create your content on a third-party app or just using your phone or whatever you're using to film. Then you can edit it. I like to use either the Splice app, it's an app, or you can use CapCut, and then you can edit the video down, and then you can use that one video and post it across every single channel. But if you haven't done so already, get on every channel and save your username so that you're not one of those people who are like, oh, well, I have to be Broadloom12345 because somebody took my username, so.
The 3 I would focus on: Google Business Profile. You got to post your videos there, and then you can share them from there to other platforms. YouTube, definitely be on YouTube. Share it on Facebook. But one of the tricks to sharing it on Facebook, and I can't stand this part, download the video and share the raw video. Don't share the YouTube link, because Facebook won't serve your video up near as much because it takes them off of the Facebook platform. So I noticed in the Facebook group, when I post a link from YouTube, I don't get near as many views as I do when I post the video directly to Facebook. And when you're scrolling through, the video's playing live when you do that. So it catches a lot more attention.
So for short form video, my opinion is YouTube Shorts, Instagram, and TikTok all day long. But we post that same video on LinkedIn, and then we post it on Facebook. We post it everywhere, and you'd be surprised, a video will hit on LinkedIn for no explainable reason in their algorithm and flop on Instagram, and then the next week it'll be completely reversed. So I'm a huge fan of get everywhere. Whatever's most successful, focus 80% of your time there and develop that community, develop that branding, engage with that community the most, but post everywhere, be everywhere.
And the reason you need to do that is because people's brains are loyal to the platform that they're used to being on. So you need to be all of the places that your people are. But the number one piece of advice that I'll give you is don't get on every platform just because we told you to for the sake of doing it. If you can't do it well, I'd rather you be on one or two and do it really, really well than spread yourself too thin.
Yeah.
But just know that people all have different brain types, so you want to be where all the different brain types are, so it gives your content a chance.
I had a question. Where are you in your social media journey?
Yeah, I would say we are on most platforms. We don't really do a lot of YouTube. We do videos, but I mean, we could be more active on social for sure.
Which one is driving the most engagement for you?
Facebook in our market, and I think our target demographic and the age groups. But as the housing market changed this last year, we had a lot more younger people that started coming in, I think, as well. So it's really all platforms. I feel like that people are seeing us everywhere. We just actually got a LinkedIn the last few weeks to be able to start connecting and building that profile for the professional side. So I think that's helped as well.
So I think there's a couple things that I would think about. Two things, TikTok and probably YouTube Shorts are, well, TikTok is the new kid on the block. They are prioritizing organic reach. I think why TikTok is important for two things. One, the organic reach. They're not having to show a bunch of ad revenue like mature platforms like Instagram or these other ones. So they're going to give you a bunch of free people to get in front of them. They want to hook you. But two, I would say the SEO that you get from TikTok, the how to do XYZ, if you're going after a younger demographic, those people are now searching. Gen Zs and these younger millennials are searching how to do XYZ on TikTok versus going to what millennials, my generation, did was go to Google for everything. And their algorithms are phenomenal. The next thing is I see TikTok and Instagram and YouTube Shorts as the masters, but I will create the TikTok first because they have the best editing. And then I'll take that same content, publish it on Instagram Reels and YouTube Shorts. There's one key thing that I'm testing is the text overlays. So if you guys have ever exported a TikTok video, do you remember the watermarks that you'd probably see on Instagram? This was the best growth strategy that I've seen from a social tech company in a long time. The watermark was everywhere, so everybody went and got TikTok. I noticed that when we would export our videos and it had TikTok watermark, Instagram has AI that sees all these videos. They're not going to prioritize a competitor. So what you do is when you have text overlay on TikTok, you make a new native text overlay on Instagram. And I'm convinced this actually does matter. And then that's the only native thing you do. So you have your master content, distribute it through the short form, and then you push that through LinkedIn and Facebook.
So you put the text overlay on
always.
top
I
of
will
the
never
TikTok.
repurpose a TikTok overlay text back on Instagram.
Well, no, I'm just saying you literally put the text on top of the TikTok.
For sure.
Whatever.
It's the little nuance, but I've found that like comparing two videos, it's something, they're throttling my engagement on something.
Interesting.
And so Instagram recognizes when you're making content in their little Reels studio, they understand what
Yeah.
you're working with, and that's how they design new features. So I always try to utilize the little features or the filters or something that's going to prioritize.
Interesting.
All right, well, I think that's all the time we have, but please give a round of applause for this panel.